At the age of 10, he buried one of his cats alive, and the second, 13-year-old Kemper slaughtered with a knife. What happened that made him a serial killer? Edmund Kemper III was born in Burbank, California, on December 18, 1948. He was the middle child and only son born to Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper and Edmund Kemper Jr. Edmund Jr. was a World War II veteran who, after the war, tested nuclear weapons in the Pacific Proving Grounds before returning to California, where he worked as an electrician. Clarnell often complained about Edmund II's menial electrician job, and he later said, "Suicide missions in wartime and the atomic bomb testings were nothing compared to living with her," and that Clarnell affected him more than 396 days and nights of fighting on the front did. Weighing 13 pounds as a newborn, Kemper was a head taller than his peers by the age of 4. Signs of trouble began to emerge early. Kemper had a dark fantasy life, sometimes dreaming about killing his mother. He cut off the heads of his sister's dolls and even coerced the girls into playing a game he called Gas Chamber, in which he had them blindfold him and lead him to a chair where he pretended to writhe in agony until he died. His first victims were the family cats. He went to live with his father for a time, but ended up back with his mother, who decided to send the troubled teenager to live with his paternal grandparents in North Fork, California. On August 27, 1964, the 15-year-old shot his grandmother, Maud Kemper, in the head with his grandfather's .22 caliber rifle. Then, as his grandfather walked up the driveway toward the house, Kemper shot him, too. Both of his grandparents were now dead because of him. "Just wanted to see what it felt like to kill Grandma," he said. But Kemper killed his grandfather so that he wouldn't find out that his wife had been murdered. After they were both dead, he called his mother and confessed to everything. Kemper was then sent to the criminally insane unit of the Atascadero State Hospital. There, doctors determined that Kemper had paranoid schizophrenia, as well as a very impressive IQ. In 1969, Kemper was released at the age of 21, despite his prison doctor's recommendation that he does not live with his mother because of her past abuse and his psychological issues involving her. He rejoined her in Santa Cruz, California, where she had moved after ending her third marriage to take a job with the University of California. While there, Kemper attended community college for a time and worked a variety of jobs, eventually finding employment with the Department of Transportation in 1971. Kemper had applied to become a state trooper, but he was rejected because of his size. He weighed around 300 pounds and was 6 feet 9 inches tall, which led to his nickname Big Ed. After being denied a job as a state trooper, Kemper decided to take up an available position at the Department of Transportation. As he drove around California, Kemper noticed lots of women hitchhiking, so he started to give them rides. At first, he picked up girls just to talk to them. He picked up over 100 girls without incident, but he couldn't suppress the urge to kill when he offered a ride to 2 Fresno State students, Mary Ann Pess and Anita Luchessa. They would never make it to their destination. Their families reported them missing soon thereafter, but nothing would be known of their fates until August 15th, when a female head was discovered in the woods near Santa Cruz and was later identified as Pess's. Luchessa's remains, however, were never found. Kemper would later explain that he stabbed and strangled Pess before stabbing Luchessa as well. After the murders, he brought the bodies back to his apartment and removed their heads and hands. Later that year, on September 14, 1972, Kemper picked up 15-year-old Aikoku, who had decided to hitchhike rather than wait for the bus to take her to a dance class. She would meet the same fate as Pess and Luchessa. In January 1973, Kemper continued to act on his murderous impulses, picking up hitchhiker Cindy Shaw, whom he shot and killed. While his mother was out, Kemper went to her home and hid Shaw's body in his room. He dismembered her corpse there the following day and threw the parts into the ocean. Several parts were later discovered when they washed up onshore. He buried her head in his mother's backyard. On February 5, 1973, Kemper used a campus parking sticker his mother had given him to facilitate a double murder. He drove to the university, where he offered a ride to 2 students, Rosalind Thorpe and Alice Liu. Shortly after picking them up, he shot the 2 young women, then drove past the campus security at the gates. with the 2 mortally wounded women in his car. After the murders, Kemper decapitated his 2 victims and further dismembered the bodies, removed the bullets from their heads, and disposed of their parts in different locations. In March, some of Thorpe's and Lou's remains were discovered by hikers near Highway 1 in San Mateo County. In April 1973, Kemper committed what would be his last 2 murders. On Good Friday, he went to his mother's home, where the 2 had an unpleasant exchange. Kemper attacked his mother after she went to sleep, first striking her in the head with a hammer, and then cutting her throat with a knife. As he had with his other victims, he then decapitated her and cut off her hands, but then also removed her larynx and put it down the garbage disposal. Even more shocking, Kemper then called his mother's friend Sally Hallett and invited her over to the house. Kemper strangled Hallett shortly after she arrived and hid her body in a closet. Kemper fled the area the next day, driving east until he reached Pueblo, Colorado, where on April 23rd he made a call to the Santa Cruz police to confess his crimes. At first, they did not believe that the guy they knew as Big Ed was a killer, but during subsequent interrogations, he would lead them to all the evidence they needed to prove that he was in fact the infamous co-ed killer. When asked why he stopped killing and turned himself in, Kemper said it wasn't serving any physical or real or emotional purpose. It was just a pure waste of time. Emotionally, I couldn't handle it much longer. Charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder, Kemper went on trial for his crimes. In October 1973, he was found guilty of all of the charges in early November. When asked by the judge what he thought his punishment should be, Kemper said that he should be tortured to death. He instead received 8 concurrent life sentences. At present, Kemper is serving his time at California Medical Facility in Vacaville. Kemper, who is now 72 years old, still resides in that same prison to this day. Kemper is one of the unique characters in the history of crime. What do you think was lacking in his life? Was it his parents' fault that they could not help him to utilize his intelligence in a positive way? Share your thoughts with us in the comment box, and make sure you have liked this video and subscribed to the channel.